Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, we're all on now. That's great. Good morning and welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. I am the Reverend Dana Warsnop, minister of this congregation, and I greet the good people here in the sanctuary and everyone out on Zoom or streaming on YouTube. We are so glad you are here. You are here. We are here together. It is so good to be back here in this pulpit after a full month off. I did not fill that time off with anything exotic or adventurous, and which may be part of why it was such a restful and restorative time. Yay! And it is so good to be back with all of you. It's good to be back with all of you in all the ways that we have been learning to create community in COVID time. Again, here in the sanctuary and online. Welcome. I welcome all from near and far, those who are brand spanking new to our community, and those who have been stalwarts here in this congregation for years, and everybody in between, and I see a little bit of all of that here this morning. And I suspect it's out there in Zoom land as well. Welcome, dear ones all. So, it has been our practice of recent time to acknowledge that the land that we are on is unceded territory of native peoples. And I recently saw a new, to me, bumper sticker that simply states, "You are on native land." And it struck me as perfectly succinct and ever true. Wherever I drive my car in North America, it will always be making a true statement. For wherever we go, we are on native land. And in Ventura County, it is the unceded lands of the Chumash people. May we ever keep that in our consciousness. And our conscience. Yeah, okay. And also, speaking of bumper stickers, I have a couple of announcements. Speaking of bumper stickers, I just want to use visual aids. The publicity team has created new bumper stickers that match the signs that are out front, Side with Love and Come, whoever you are. And they're out front in the entryway, and take one and put it on your car. And then just a couple of other things to let you know that our auction has been set for a date. Our fall auction is set for a date of October 22nd. And people there is a lovely family walking actually slightly in the wrong direction with children. Ari is out in the garage. So Ruth, thank you very much for showing them the way. Welcome, we love you. So anyway, our auction is set for October 22nd, and the leadership is in place, and golly, there's a whole lot of different tasks that need to be done. And you know, the phrase, many hands make light work, and so it doesn't have to be super, but if you can offer a hand or two at any point between now and October 2nd, actually speak to Ruth, who just is helping that young family. So. Or to me, and I'll point you in the right direction. And lastly, just a reminder that our water communion, our annual water communion service, will be on September 11th. And that is when we each bring a sample of water from a place that was particularly refreshing or meaningful to each of us over the summer, and we merge it together in a ritual of regathering. And so keep that in your mind as well. And let us arrive fully together from wherever you are joining this service. bringing your questioning, wondering, creative, open selves to this unfolding endeavor as we enter sacred space.
I am Worship Associate Ruth Cappelle. We invite those who are Zooming or streaming into this service to light a chalice or candle at home as Reverend Dana lights the chalice of our free faith here in the sanctuary. We begin our service this morning with these words from Reverend Kathy Huff. Spirit of life, be present with us this hour. Join us today as we gather in a wider search for truth and purpose. In this quest, may we greet one another with open hearts and minds. May we inspire each other to consider new questions and seek deeper meaning. And may we cultivate wisdom and compassion. Let all who enter the sanctuary see a welcome face, hear a kind word, and find comfort in this community. And may all that is done and said here today be in service to love and justice. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning and welcome here in the sanctuary and online. I'm Carolyn Bjerke, the music director, and I'd like to invite you all to join with me in song. Our opening hymn is Bring Many Names. Please rise and bow to your spirit.
Holiness in glory, live
that is one of my favorite hymns. And I just learned on TikTok that apparently, like, only a small percentage of people get chills when they hear beautiful music. And I don't know, because I've always gotten them. But that gave me chills. Thank you, Carolyn, and thank all of you. And I don't know, that was TikTok. You know, it's a source. It's a source. Okay. After serving one church for many years, a colleague of mine told me about the taking up the occasional practice of re-preaching some of his previous sermons. And with full disclosure, he called it twice told tales. He said it was fascinating to look back and see what he had said before and whether and how much his thoughts had changed. A good enough message bears repeating, and it was also interesting, he said, to see how a different congregation responded to it newly. Some people didn't remember it at all, which is, you know, humbling. And for others, it landed very, very differently years later. And plenty had not even heard it the first time. So I bring to you this morning the second hearing of a homily I preached just 4 years ago, which is a speedier turnaround than usual. But I recently learned something delightful about this homily that made it new to me again. And this will now be the 4th time I have preached this particular homily. Once in Oregon, once in Idaho, and soon to be twice in Ventura. And this is the new thing I learned. The Idaho version, it turns out, helped 2 people meet and fall in love. A young woman came into the Boise Fellowship, where I served as an interim minister for 2 years before arriving here. And she had recently left the Mormon faith. And was just feeling very lost. And so she was going about and checking out other churches. And knowing nothing about Unitarian Universalism, she arrived at the Boise Fellowship in May 2014. Her mind was blown, she told me recently, before I ever said a word. Never in her life had she seen a woman standing in the pulpit. And then I spoke about how my idea of God changed and evolved and turned back again on itself over and over again. That I sensed something big and holy, but wasn't sure how or what to name it. And there, what she saw was a woman speaking and leading a church, saying that she didn't know what or who or if God was. This newly ex-Mormon was gobsmacked. Apparently, after the service, she asked me for a copy of the homily, which she has to this day. She moved to Florida. She didn't stick around in Boise because she was moving to Florida. And when she got there, she looked up the UU church nearest her new home. And on her first Sunday there, she met the man she would marry. A young seminarian who was later the intern minister in Santa Barbara and the sabbatical minister in Santa Paula. Some of you may well know the Reverend Nick Filzen, who now serves a UU church in Georgia. I saw Nick and met his wife, Janaea, in Portland, at our General Assembly in Portland this June, and they told me their story. I got chills and tears, and I could not stop smiling. Not that this was the most amazing sermon ever preached by me or anyone else, but more that we never know the ripples we create. We do the best we can and give the best we've got and put it out to into the universe and carry on. My chills and tears and grin were also because of the power of this faith and our message to move people and change lives. We've got something going here. We make meaning and give purpose and change lives through being open to what is new and evolving and good in every moment. So let us keep it up.
This congregation gives away our collection to an organization in the larger community or to funds that help people in our church. Those at home have two ways to give: through the link posted in the chat and by texting from your phone at 844-901-1779. Folks present here can text to give, or you can still write a check or give cash. Then drop it in baskets at the back of the sanctuary after the service. Our offering today goes to Everytown Gun Safety to support their work to end gun violence in our nation. Everytown Gun Safety does research on the causes and effects of gun violence, sharing what they find with legislators and voters. They also work through both civil and criminal courts to hold those responsible for the violence to account. They educate parents on secure gun storage and families on red flag laws. They also support over 4,000 gun violence survivors, connecting them to each other, amplifying the power of their voices. Every day, roughly 300 people in the United States are wounded or killed with guns. And the latest research by Everytown Gun Safety puts the cost of gun violence in the country at $557 billion. $557 billion annually. Congress has recently made some progress towards reducing guns in the country, but not enough. Every gun safety is still hard at work. Thank you for giving generously, as you always do.
We are grateful for the generosity of this community, which weaves a tapestry of love with golden threads throughout this community, a tapestry of love that we call community. Thank you.
When we are in pain,
Hang on just 1 second. Forgive me.
when we are in pain, or when a great joy comes into our lives, sharing it with those who care about us is what we do as connected parts of our community. And so we take time in our weekly service for that sharing. We place stones in water for both the celebrations and sorrows in our hearts. The ripples that go out represent the way that something that touches the heart of one of us travels throughout the community to touch all of us. You can submit a joy or sorrow for sharing via a link on the website, uuventura.org, or a link in our Thursday email bulletin, UUCV This Week. Those received by 10 o'clock on Saturday night will be shared that Sunday. I invite you now to speak into the gathered community or write into the Zoom chat the names of those you wish to celebrate or memorialize, or those in need of the loving embrace of this beloved community. Please feel free to continue to add to the chat even after the silent pause has ended. Reverend Dana will now place one final stone into the water for all the joys and sorrows yet unspoken in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. May we be truly grateful for all that is our life.
Please remain seated while we sing Precious Lord, Take My Hand. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call. Hold my hand lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When the darkness appears and the night draws near, when the day is past and gone, at the river I stand, guide my feet, hold my hand, take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.
We offer a reading in two voices. from A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson, published nearly 20 years ago, certainly before the Webb telescope gave us whole new perspectives on the universe. Perhaps one day, what we learn from that new amazing telescope will shed light on the questions from 20th and early 21st century cosmologists that Bryson writes about.
Some experts believe that there may have been many other big bangs, perhaps trillions and trillions of them, spread through the mighty span of eternity, and that one reason we exist in this particular one is that this is the one we could exist in.
As Edward Tryon of Columbia University put it, in answer to the question of why it happened, I offer the modest proposal that our universe is simply one of those things that happen from time to time.
Another expert believes that there are many universes, possibly an infinite number, each with different attributes, in different combinations, and that we simply live in the one that combines things in the way that allows us to exist. He maintains that 6 numbers in particular govern our universe, and that if any of these values were changed, even very slightly, things could not be as they are.
For example, our universe requires hydrogen, that hydrogen be converted to helium in a precise and comparatively stately manner. Specifically, in a way that converts 7/1000ths of its mass to energy. Lower the value very slightly, and no transformation could take place. The universe would consist of hydrogen and nothing else. Raise the value very slightly, and bonding would be so wildly prolific that the hydrogen would long since have been exhausted. In either case, with the slightest tweaking of the numbers, the universe as we know and need it would not be here. A little bit to think about as we go into a time of stillness and meditation. Please close your eyes if you wish and place your feet on the floor if you're comfortable doing so. Lean back into the couch or chair if you're zooming or streaming in, and breathe. Consider how at home you are in this universe. Consider how remarkable it is that we are here. A silent meditation.
everywhere, its temple, all space, its shrine, the good heart, its creed, all truth, its ritual works of love, its creed, all truth, its ritual works of love.
So just in case there's someone who missed it, those are the words of Theodore Parker, 19th century abolitionist and Unitarian minister, and that is the music of Carolyn Bjerke. She put those words to music. So here is the sermon that brought two lovers together. And who knows what else. Its original title was Why I Cannot Give Up on God Even Though I've Tried. The word God is only 3 letters, in English at least, but it is as loaded as any word in human language. It has more baggage, it carries more meanings for good and ill. For some here, it might be even more uncomfortable than words of the 4-letter variety. I've heard some wonder aloud why we just don't skip it altogether. The word God is just too loaded, at best too vague, at worst rank superstition. We can have deep, meaningful religious and spiritual lives without it. So maybe we just drop it? And I don't entirely disagree with them. I've even tried. I just can't quite do it. Now, one of the great gifts of being a minister in our tradition is that I can have a crisis of faith without having a crisis of vocation. As a UU minister, on the darkest nights of my soul, when I feel lost and alone in an unforgiving universe, a universe indifferent to my existence and perhaps even hostile to it, on those nights when the idea of God seems the most patently ridiculous notion I've ever heard, I do not need to add to the worry that if I lose my faith, I might also lose my job. If I stood in this pulpit one Sunday and professed a devout belief in God, and the very next week I confessed that I had completely changed my mind, you might be a little surprised. Some might be delighted, and others disappointed. But I wouldn't worry that you would then run me out of town. For our tradition does not have creed or dogma also loaded on to the word God, the word and the concept God. We can have many names and no name at all for a god, goddess, or our sense of what is holy and good. That is why as Unitarian Universalists, we don't have to give up on God. If If it were otherwise, I could not be here. For one of the things that drew me in when I first found a UU church was that God, as word, concept, presence in my life, God suddenly got so much lighter. So I can say with great confidence and without irony that I concur with the minister who once said, when I use the word God, I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. By now, I suspect you can see what a radical message this can be for any one of us, and for that particular young ex-Mormon who came into the church in Boise. And perhaps, and you also are reminded why you are a UU or are here exploring it. Because God is such a conundrum. UUs can spend a bit too much time talking about the God we don't believe in. And I don't want to dwell in the negative today, yet for the record, a few stipulations. When I speak of God, I do not mean the patriarchal, judging, vengeful Father God who can act in human history, who answers prayers, who created heaven and earth in 7 days, rules over heaven, and sent a son to die to redeem my sins. Put that one down. Now, because of that, many of you reject the whole concept of God right along with all of that stuff too. And that is just fine. Yet for me, I find my life somehow impoverished when I do that. So I embrace a less literal, metaphorical God. A God that stands for all that I yearn for, that which I sense just outside my mind's capacity to comprehend. This God dwells somewhere in my strongly felt sense that there is something larger than myself. Something that I am part of and is part of me. The thing that makes me feel bigger and nobler and truer than I feel most of the time. That which carries me up and beyond, that beckons and lures. It is what I feel when I find just the right word to express what I mean. And all, the universe just clicks into place, and all is right with the world. It catches in my throat when I first glimpse the ocean. My heart leaps at the beauty and aches because such beauty is transient. And for me, God is the leaping heart, the aching heart. Some say God is a verb. In my early theological reflections, God felt more like a quality of existence, neither God nor goddess, more of a godness. Since then, I have taken to calling it beingness, a holy beingness. That phrase conveys for me the life energy, the sacredness I sometimes sense on earth in a vast, barely comprehensible universe. I love that in Hebrew scripture, when Moses encounters God as burning bush and asks what he should call the fire, the entity names themselves, I am what I am. A Hebrew phrase that can also translate as I am becoming what I am becoming, or being what I am being. Fire, energy, life, possibility, it's all metaphor. More love, here, there, somewhere, everywhere. And though I do not believe in a personal God, I sometimes still speak to God, pray to God as if there were someone, something listening, watching and listening. When I am touched by love or beauty or a profound connection, I call out my thanks. When I am in particular despair, I cry out for comfort. We just sang one of my favorite hymns, Precious Lord. Thomas Dorsey, the father of gospel music, wrote it when he was out on tour and his wife and infant son died at home. Devastated, he sat at the piano and cried out to God for comfort in his hour of despair and devastation. The words and tune speak to that part of me which has suffered, of the sense of a presence that sometimes holds me when I am most desperate. In those moments, I sometimes am able to let go of my literal mind, let go of worry about what I am speaking to, who, what, how I might be praying, and let the sorrow and comfort arise as they will. So, where am I now after 10 years of preaching some version of this sermon? After decades of theological wrestling, in my morning practice, I now invoke a holy beingness, source of my being, with which I fully participate and make manifest in the world. I do keep tweaking that phrase, and it's now down to 18 words from the 20, it was at 20 the last time that I preached this homily. And those 18 words are the best that I can come up with now, here, now. Yet then, I will turn another corner and the ridiculousness of it all smacks me in the face again. Bill Bryson's A Short History of Nearly Everything is essentially a history of the universe, a history of science, and how we come to know anything about life on Earth. And it really is quite a romp, despite its intimidating title. Bryson writes of the vastness of space and how random and unlikely our appearance on Earth is, how precarious our lives are. And since Bryson wrote that book, cosmologists have noticed something about the universe. They have measured and seen that what seemed to be the expansion of the universe seemed to be slowing down, but now somehow it seems to be speeding back up again. And this all has something to do with dark matter and black holes, and they're still trying to figure all that out. Particle physicist Guido Tonelli says that right after the Big Bang, the Higgs boson particle, right after the Big Bang, the Higgs boson particle, which is sometimes called the God particle, went through a particular change, a transformation, and when that happened, it allowed all of the material universe to come into materialness. And physicists and cosmologists have also realized that the Higgs boson particle could transform again. And then, poof, to everything. Seriously, it would happen in an instant if it happens. And it could happen at any moment in the next 14 or 16 billion years. Odds are pretty good there. And the truth is it may never happen. They just know that it could. Knowing all of that, the traditional image of God, of a God who takes special interest in human beings on planet Earth, evaporates in contemplation of those facts and truths and realities. And then I feel profoundly alone again. A random configuration of atoms and smaller particles on a planet circling a sun that is but the tiniest speck in a vast universe that could wink out in an instant. But then I turn another corner, and in another instant, my sense of wonder returns. Life may be precarious, but it is precious too. That we are here at all, let alone conscious and living on a life-sustaining planet, is awe-inspiring. And once again, I am filled with wonder and delight, and I feel connected to it all. So make God a verb, a noun, a being. Bring your own name or none at all. Whatever you do, I do hope that you experience such moments that keep your hearts open to mystery, that move you not so much away from God, but toward depth and wisdom and wonder. Keep yourselves open to the metaphorical, knowing, and allow yourself to be carried beyond the knowing mind to that which lies beyond. Let all that move you to relish this life and to live it well. And with those words, I closed the sermon, and a young woman carried them with her into a new home where love awaited. Ours is a radical, evolving, truth-telling faith. I often say that coming to church should change you, though I can't really tell you exactly how. Sometimes some of you share with me how this community and how this faith have affected you, how they have changed you, opened you, and moved you in new directions. And I love hearing those stories. So keep them coming, please. Yet more often, I'm aware that it all just ripples out into a vast universe and just keeps going somewhere, I hope. And recently, I was graced with the knowledge of hearing some of it circle back around to let me know how it did land and move in the world. And so, may ours indeed be a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere, from Oregon to Idaho to Ventura to Florida and Georgia and beyond. And thus endeth the twice-told tale. Amen, and blessed be. I invite you to join me in prayer. Holy beingness of many names and no name, gracious Godness, which dwells within and among and beyond us this day and always. May we feel the depth of our connection to all that is. May we feel the depth of the connection, the many threads that tie us and bind us together with one another and with all being on this life-sustaining planet. may that felt sense of grandness, of tininess, of transcendence spark our lives, give us hope and meaning, comfort us in despair, and inspire us to make more love and justice with every action we take. May we find holiness in our joy, in our tears, in our children, in our elders, and in our very being. May we know that everything is holy. Here, there, everywhere, somewhere. And may all those who are ill find healing. May those who are in despair find hope. May those who are without shelter find home. And may all those suffering conflict and war throughout the world, may we know peace. Amen. And blessed be.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in our closing hymn, There Is More Love Somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
Please join me in the screen as we prepare to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry into our lives until we are together again.
If you'll remain standing, and before the benediction and postlude, I do invite those who are on Zoom to go into breakout rooms and talk about God with each other. Yeah. This would be a great time to turn on all your screens so you see who's there with you in Zoom. And also, our coffee hour outside is growing more rich and lively each Sunday. So what I'd like to ask you to do is go out there right away. drop off any cash or checks, and move right on outside to join in with the musicians singing or just talking about God under canopies. And remember that COVID is still with us, and outside with air circulation is one of the least risky places that we can be. And talking about deeply meaningful and or silly things is one of the great joys of coffee hours. So move on out. Don't hang out. Drop off your check and get yourselves outside. So I leave you with the words that Theodore Parker wrote and Carolyn sang earlier, though I've adapted the words a bit here. Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere. Its temple all space. Its shrine the good heart that sometimes finds love at church. Its creed all truth. Its ritual works of love that make meaning and create beauty even on the tiny speck that is planet Earth. Go forth with that love into that space and create peace in your heart and among us all. And may it be so.